Going live. It says we're going live. Hopefully, the audio's okay. If anybody can let me know you can hear me. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Dave here with Affordable Door Gate. We can talk about anything you like if you're just jumping in. If you wouldn't mind, also hit the like button. Just helps wake up the YouTube algorithm. Brings in more like-minded people. We love that kind of stuff. I just wanted to talk to you about if anybody has. I feel like I got a fuzz. Hopefully, it's not paint. Is it paint? Please don't be paint. It's moving on me, whatever it is. I'll get it. But we can talk about whatever. It's pretty laid back. Sunday. Oh no. What did it move or not? Am I just seeing things? I might be seeing things. Who knows? I could be going crazy. Anywho, like I said, I was thinking about the franchise a little bit. It's something that's always kind of entertained me a little bit. I'm wondering if anybody has any experience in it or what holds you back, or have you thought about it? Or are you thinking about it? Anything of that nature. Like I said, we can discuss anything off topic. It does not matter. You're more than welcome. Two, I just had a few minutes. I'm sitting here going through the agenda, making a plan for the week. I got stuff I got to get. You got to write it down. You got to write it down. You got to write down those goals, baby. But I'm here for you. I'm here for you. So ask questions. That's always great. Let me make sure things are working as they should. And I hope otherwise you're having a good weekend, enjoying time with the family and getting those projects done. I'll make sure everything's going good here. I think we're going good. Looks like it is. Looks like we're live. So, anywho, I've came across a little bit of the A1. I thought it was funny because Cap actually just mentioned it to me the other day, and I think he was a little bit confused because he mentioned what did he mention? How did he mention it? He said, "Oh, he goes, I see A1's back around," and I'm like, A1, the one that because we had the, I don't know what you want to call it, right? It's kind of like affordable. There's a lot of affordable doors and gates, and there's probably at least 6 in Michigan or more. Um, but I remember he said that, and I thought, well, that's funny because the original A1 that I remember was a branch off of another garage door company that was in our town. So basically, we had this main company, right? That was like they were the ones that had the placards, the metal placards they used to put on doors. They ran the town probably back in my guess is probably about in the 70s. They definitely owned the town, right? They were the only ones in town. It'd probably be kind of like Rusty, right? Rusty in his area, right? The only person in the area. The family kind of split up. One uncle went a certain way and start A1, and then it was like another one. What was the other one? Muskegon. I think it was Muskegon. That one's no longer around. Muskegon garage door. And so they kind of branched off, right? And then they ran their own gigs for years, and they were around roughly when I was starting out. And but the A1 was the one I've talked about before. I've talked to you guys about. They were the ones that they'd always have so much coming in that they literally, from what the guy that used to work there, my old foreman that worked for them, that worked for me, he would tell me, he said they would literally just come in. They just come in for the day. He says they never planned the next day, nothing. He said they just come in, they go through their phone messages, they go through their little list of some sort. Now I'm sure there's certain customers they did, some good builders and stuff like that they had on the radar. But for the most part, they didn't have nothing for that day or whatever. They just went through their list and said, oh, okay, let's call this customer. Yeah, we need a garage door and we need this, because they were the ones that I'd always see on the highway. I didn't travel. I traveled quite a bit when we first, I wouldn't say when we first just started out, but when we were medium into it. Because we had so many jobs going and we just didn't have either the inventory or we had to get certain stuff like ASAP. So I was always traveling to the Grand Rapids area, and it was it's an hour and 15 minutes depending on traffic away. But I'd always see them. I'd see them on the highway going the other way, and they'd always have a pile of doors on top. And I'm like, where are they going with those doors? Like, what are they doing? you know, and it made sense after he worked for me. I know I figured out that it was like, oh wow, like they're just grabbing doors. They don't have nothing basically delivered to them. Maybe they had a few things. Franchise what? Franchise garage doors. Unknown says hello and hi. But if you, a lot of people probably know about it, the franchise. If you just do a quick little easy Google search, you're going to come across Pro Lift, you're going to come across A1, you're going to come across Access, I think. I see them, but anywho, with him saying something about with A1, I thought it was that old company again. And I thought, as far as I knew, that guy kind of closed shop, his location, everything. And he was doing a little bit out of his home, I believe. And I thought, boy, that's weird because he said, well, I see his vans. And I thought, for him to go wrapping vehicles and that's a big plunge again. But I just seen one. And I said, you know what? I said, it's the different one. It's not the same company. It's the franchise one. Oh, for Evan, is it morning time? What do you got? Sunday morning? Is it morning time for you? What time is there? It's one here. 1:37 afternoon. Evan Scotty says maybe someday I get into franchise. I've got to get one place going first. That's right. That's right. I don't know if the franchise is really the way. I mean, I think what you're really getting is you're getting kind of the branding, but a lot of times from what I hear from certain people, it's you got to pay them. They want royalties every month. They want a certain cut of a check. So it kind of like it all kind of depends on what you want to do. Like I get it to some degree, but I don't know. I'd like to. I'd love to find somebody that's actually doing it that either watches the channel or knows somebody that watches the channel to see if what are they paying? Does it change? Is it just a flat rate? You pay them every month, and then are you getting what kind of advertising are they doing for you, or is it more or less, what's all entailed into it? Because I guess what I'm getting at is that I don't want to like bash it. I'm not trying to bash it, but yeah, I worry that some people think it's the easy fix. You know what I mean? It's an easy just um if I do this, I know how much money they're making. And that might not be the case. You know what I mean? Like it's not as easy. Sometimes it might be the jobs that aren't flowing in, but they got you wrapped into, you already maybe had to purchase a vehicle. That's the stuff I'd wonder, like, do you got to purchase a vehicle? I'm assuming you got to make the payments on it. Um, where's the edge with it? You know what I mean? Oh, he's got Evan he says, I bought one of the A1 guy's book. He says, I'll let you know if it's a good read. Ooh, let me know. Let me know. I'd probably have to do it. If it was for me, I'd have to do it like an Audible. But I know, see, that's another thing. And I'm, like I said, it's not bad. It's kind of like, it's kind of like that, like Grant Cardone or Robert Kiyosaki or, you know, in a nutshell, like, it's one of those things, these guys are doing it for money. So sometimes I wonder, like I was literally thinking about it today. And I just, it's just my brain, how weird things. I thought, does Tommy ever come on? Does Tommy ever come on and do a live on YouTube where he can let people ask, or is he going to get beat up? You know what I mean? Like, is people going to smash him? I mean, I know he does his podcast and he does everything with all these people and stuff, right? But these people at a certain level, and I just kept thinking, I wonder if he would do something like I do. You know what I mean? Where, um, because that's the thing, right? I mean, I think people don't realize this is just me. This is my opinion, me talking, and I could be way off in left field, right? A lot of people don't realize that Tommy's making most of his money off the backs of everybody else, in a sense, right? Um, the books, the franchise, the courses. The courses are good, right? Because what does Grant Cardone do, right? Courses, training, and so he's got all those things behind the scenes that are bringing in those little chunks of money, 50 cents here, $2 here, $20 here. Just makes me wonder sometimes. I just, and that's why I kind of was hoping maybe somebody, if anybody dealt with them that comes across this, let me know. Or if you're doing like Pro Lift, or you're doing Access, or you're doing, um, the A1, um, I think there's too much, I've done, I've read, and like I said, everything's good, right? There's normally, hopefully, we hope, right, that there's a good little nugget out of something. But most of the time, it's always really comes down to the discipline, right? That's what it comes down to. It comes down to getting out there and put the flyers, getting out there and doing the hard things, talking to the lumber yards, or getting shirts made, or making sure you got business cards, or being professional and being polite, being nice, something like that, to our customers, providing them with a good service. Um, Hopefully, they recommend you, all that good stuff. That was God. I see. He says, if anybody gets into a franchise first, I could see it being Rusty. He says, because of way he does his pricing, he could manage the overhead. Yeah, probably. I don't think he ever would, just because it's kind of family owned and stuff like that. And probably in a nutshell, why does he want to share it? I mean, they can take the money versus, it's easier, in a nutshell, because uh, uh, I don't know his exact demographics. It sounds like to me that he has to do a little bit of traveling. You know what I mean? It's not like he's in a really heavy city. And I think that's another thing that people, can look, um, that you kind of miss. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It can be kind of good. Like, so we have a guy that's north, and I know of another city. I always thought about opening up another location in there, but because I've had customers up in there where we've gone there and they've been like, well, "There's only one place to call," and they don't answer their phone, and da 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 da. Da. And but what I'm getting at is that would be one of those ones that it's not very heavy populated, right? It's very sprawled out. It's going to be, so you got to do a lot of traveling, and there's a lot of backcountry roads for there. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot of drift overs in the wintertime. So I don't know exactly. So it's supplies. Where do you get your supplies? Like I said, these are things I never thought of. I just never thought of, right? It just was in my mind, right? You look at something, you go, "Oh my gosh, dude, I can make $200, or I can make $400." Yes, you can. And I'm not saying it's bad, and it's not, but it's as you grow, you don't realize behind the scenes all the stuff that adds up, right? There's so many things that start adding up. Your overhead, the trucks, the equipment, um, and the thing is just like your paycheck, right? A lot of people, the more money you make, the more you want to spend, right? Oh, I deserve that. I make this, right? The problem is a lot of people don't spend it in the right stuff. They buy stuff that doesn't make them money. And um, it's real easy. I've done it. I've done it many a times, and I try not to ever do it again, because it just gets to be, it's a pain. It is a pain. Um, it's almost like that. The more you make, the more they take, right? That's kind of normally how it goes for like the paychecks and stuff. Oh, I know I'm gonna throw a few more little fires on there, or logs. It says that fire looks cozy. It feels good on the back. I'm not gonna lie, and the neck problems lately. I'm gonna throw a few on there. Ugh. Keep her going. Wow, it does work pretty good. If anybody cruises in here, let me know if you got anything going, or like I said, the franchise, or if your business is a franchise or does it, or you work for a company that's in a franchise, or just tell me what you got going for the week. Or if you got any questions or anything, like I said, don't be afraid. I jumped on here to say hello to everybody. I know I had a few minutes to burn because I got a kiddo. Kids, man. You guys, life changes when you have kids. I tell Caleb that all the time, especially young men, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's a good thing, but it could be a bad thing. How could you say that? Because it's true. You got to make sure you got a good partner. You know what I mean? There is no rush. As a young man, I wish somebody would told me that there's no rush. Instead, it was always you get out of school, right? And it's always like, you going to college? Where are you going to go to college? You're going to go to college. You're going to go to college. I'm like, why would I go to college? And I don't know what I want to do. You know? And then you start hooking up with a girl. When are you going to marry her? When are you going to marry her? Pressure, pressure, pressure. And just remember, student loans. Do not ever, ever. I won't do this for my kids either. I will not co-sign for anybody, and I don't expect anybody to co-sign for me. That is nothing but problematic, and especially when you have, I don't know if they call it, it was Sally Mae. It used to be called Sally Mae. Student loan debt. Oh, that's some horrible stuff. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Dun, dun, dun. Evan Scott, if you could do it all over again, Dave, would you just call the business Door Boys like your website? So there was a company in town. They've changed. It's Cisco now, and they're pretty big. I heard it's kind of a money dump for them because they do like dock doors and the seals and that, and then they also have a forklift business. So I've heard that there was like three brothers, and they gave the one brother the door company, and that was like a money, like that was where they lost money, and like the other ones, because other ones like so big they actually have like catalogs and stuff. But theirs was reliable. So I always thought reliable quality is another one. You know, like I would have definitely changed. I would have chose a name that's more a little more generic. You know what I mean? Like in a sense, the only reason I did affordable back in the day was because when I started out, back in my day, boy, when I started out, it was we had the phone book. That was pretty much it. It was like phone book, newspaper, a few flyers here and there. That's the only way you had to advertise, right? And word of mouth and business cards and stickers, maybe bandit signs you could do, whatever. But I did affordable because it was the only thing I could think of at the time to get me at the top of the phone book, right? Because I wanted to be in the top. So nowadays it don't matter because we all use Google. And so I would have chose, probably would have did like dependable or reliable or quality or something of that nature where it's just more because you get a little bit of blowback, with people. Sometimes I've had it where my old fence buddy, his was affordable fence, and sometimes we get phone calls from people, and they just start yakking about fencing, and it was like, oh, like, are you trying to call affordable fence? Well, that's who I called, and it's like, no, you called affordable door and gate. And so it was, it was interesting with that. But I always remember that was always kind of the joke. Sometimes, it's not very often, but you come across a customer and they'd be like, well, your price seems a little high. Yeah. Well, I thought you were affordable. And I always like my buddy's reaction. He always says, he goes, I always tell the customer when they tell me that, he goes, you're right. He goes, we are affordable. We're just not cheap. I always thought that was a good one. So when you get somebody, I thought you were affordable. Yeah, we are affordable, but we're not cheap. I thought that was always a good comeback for him. Good dude. Good dude. But he was one of those guys. And I kind of called it out. I kind of thought to myself, I think this dude's going to burn himself out. And he could sell like a mofo. He was a super nice guy, just real yacky. Um, almost fun to be around, right? Just a pleasure. He was always the guy that came to me, and he'd be like, Dave, 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 Dave. I'm like, what? And he'd be like, you busy? Oh, we're swamped. We got to my blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, All right. All right. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, I mean, we're steady, you know. You busy? I don't like that word anymore. You know what I mean? We're profitable. You know, yes, we are busy, but we are profitable. You know what I mean? We like to go after good work, not just be busy work. Because I have done that before. You know, I've done the busy work, and it doesn't pay. You know what I mean? It's to run here and take care of this person and go here. So I wouldn't definitely choose I would not try to choose like a name, because you have to always, the thing in business is you have to always think about the future, right? That's why I think like with the Rich Dad Poor Dad books and stuff like that, I think of everything. It's amazing to me how everything comes down to cars and like a highway. You know what I mean? And it's like you don't travel anywhere and go, "Oh, I know where I'm going to get off." Well, why don't you just start driving around the US? You know, or the country or the world. Just drive in circles. Well, no, I'm going down somewhere. I'm going on vacation. Oh no, I'm going down to see grandpa or grandma or somebody, or visit friends. Business is like that, right? So you always have to be looking so much farther, because it might not turn into anything. It might get dissolved. It might fail. It might not be what you think it's going to be, but you should always be looking down the road and going, if I was to sell, or somebody was to take over, or, I don't want it to be called, Dave's Garage Doors. You know what I mean? Where's Dave? I want to talk to Dave. Uh, Dave's no longer, I want to talk to Dave. That's the name on the business. Then you got, there, once you start realizing, like when you build a business, there's so many things that factor in. I think I was just listening to a lady the other day, and she was saying something about how she thinks her card got scammed, but if she deletes that card, it wipes out everybody. They can't just get rid of that one transaction. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know how that goes. And that's why I'm always trying to tell you guys, if you're going to sign up for something that you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know, maybe Home Advisor, Angie's List or something, use a burnable credit card. Like go get a preload if you can. Um, get a reloadable credit card or whatever, and use that. That way, if you're like, this is bullcrap, they're charging me, they're screwing me, dump the card. It doesn't affect all your other accounts that are true and stable, because that was a big problem for me a lot of times. We get signed up with something, boom, I whip out the old credit card, and now it's a nightmare. They're horrible. Mm. Do. Eric's guy said, I'll never have kids. Just another expense. They are expensive. They are expensive. Kids are good. Kids are good. You know, I can definitely see, I know in my life, right, with kids, you can feel they're very pricey, and especially with inflation. I mean, ooh, man, the food. Oh wow, it's expensive. It's expensive, and a lot of kids are not moving out. I'm not bashing it. I think it's kind of the new trend. I think things are overpriced, honestly. Um, so yeah, but there is some really uh there is some really beautiful things. Did you guys think this is true? I don't know. I heard this across like a Twitter or something. I don't remember what it was. Um that I thought, boy, I know a couple. But they said that actually most people that don't have kids are Democrats. I thought, well, I know too. And I thought, that's interesting. I never thought of that. And but it's I don't know, if you like teaching, and you have to, like, my big thing is you have to learn how to be patient, right? It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to teach somebody, um, that especially when you're willing to, you want them to do better than you. You know what I mean? That's kind of the mindset I like, like, or I do anyways. Want them to be smarter, faster, quicker, and know the stuff. I wish we could always, like, even my grandparents or parents, I wish there was times where I could just pull a cord out of my head, and just plug in and be like, okay, I'm downloaded. Like, don't say this at the bank. Don't talk to the cops about this. Don't incriminate yourself. Everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Um, you know, just all these little tricks of the trade. Um, dun, 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 dun. Parent plus loan flies away. What's up, Rich B? Hope we're doing good. Plus, it kind of gets crummy. You know what I mean? that because now that stuff got all overinflated, right? College used to not be that expensive. Housing's, I don't know when they engaged in uh, government assistance in housing. That's a good. I never heard nobody talk about that. I wonder when they were doing loans on houses. I don't know that one. I mean, I know like 1971, gold standard, all that kind of stuff. But you think about houses. I mean, they're man, they're overinflated. Anything the government gets into, it always starts getting overinflated. It's because all of a sudden it turns into you can get a loan. You can afford $20 a month, right? You can afford $100 or $400, right? And then think about all the money, right? Well, why don't you give it to me first? Why don't you give me something that's guaranteed that if it doesn't, I get my money back? Oh no, they're not going to do that. Action door and gate would have been more at the top of the phone book. That is true, Evan. But here's the thing: I don't know if you could beat. What was it? We had A1. I don't know if there's anything that would be A1. A and it's a one, right? And they were the ones that were pretty much at the top of the time. Nowadays, like I said, it don't matter. It doesn't matter because nobody uses it. Like I said, I just went on my phone. I was looking up a few, and I mean they're all over the place, right? It's just, and then you got your sponsored. Who's sponsored up there now? It's like three above whoever else. Mm, oh yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds. We get confused all the time with like uh we call vendors, they're like, which affordable? Like, the one that's on Apple. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. We got so many in here, And that's why sometimes like in business, I don't get too fluffed up about it. Oh, we got 4 likes. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. Um, because it's like with me, right? Yeah, there's another affordables out there, right? But as long as they're not getting my checks or screwing with things, I'm not going to go after them. You know what I mean? That's why sometimes I think we can overlook, like we're like, oh, we got to do this, we got to get this business name, we got to do this, we got to do this. No, no, get the damn customers, get the phone to ring, and start pocketing some money. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do and provide a good service. Don't be a douchebag. And if somebody calls you back and it was your customer, go out there and take care of it. You know what I mean? And that's why hey, you don't want to go 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours away one way. You know what I mean? Because when they call you and they say, hey, that door you did, remember 2 months ago? And you're like, yeah. Well, now it's this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I already lost money on that. I'm not, no, just stay as close as you can. And that way, even if you, uh, something you don't want to get into, you can, like I said, you can still take care of them. I'd still take care of them. That's me. That's just how I am. Like I said, even if I wasn't going to do it, I'd still honor it for probably whatever, 5, 10 years out and be like, yeah, that was like 15 years ago. We're not, we're not longer around. We're not going to take care of that. I'm sorry. This is who I'd recommend, depending on the situation, I guess. Acting door and gate sounds good. Probably already taken. No, I don't think there was one of those around. Big D, door and gate. People might look at you weird. What do we have around here? Triple. What's the one? Triple L? I think that's a lumberyard though. Double L? Triple L? They loser. Wild Coyote. Uh, like I said, it's never been too big of a like. The names really don't. Long term, you want your name to be recognized. People remember you. Hopefully, but I don't look. I think it is important to have some kind of a neutral. If you can do some kind of logan, that's important so people recognize it. Brand recognition is important, right? There's nothing that it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not one of my more priority things, but it's definitely not a bad thing. Do 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 do. Eric Scott. He says, I think I've already said, but I live in a house with my mom and grandparents. This is because everything is so expensive. Houses around here around $300,000. Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks, Eric, for sharing that. I mean, I'm already anticipating it. I've already told the wife of Tron, and I don't know. I already got it in the back of my head. That's why I got a few properties that are kind of in the rental space. I got some land that could be built onto it. Like I'm already anticipating like these little kiddos are going to build their own place or something, and because it is, and then you think about it, right? When you really start thinking about it, how much of a scam the stuff is, it's really bad, right? You think about every house, boom, 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 right? Then you got property taxes, boom, boom, boom. Then you think about electricity, boom. Now they get to do each house with electricity. And what do they do with that, right? You got electric bill. And if you look at the electric bill, what does it have associated to it? Tax. And then maybe you got a heat bill, right? Maybe it's natural gas, maybe it's propane, maybe it's you're just using electric, right? But more electricity, more tax going to be on it, right? And then you gotta take care of this place, right? So you got to buy shingles, roofing, windows. And one thing I'll tell you guys something. I wish somebody would have told me. Um, and this is, obviously you got to use. This is not, you know, financial advice or anything like that. This is just my opinion. So don't sue me, bro. I don't want to see you in court. But what I've noticed over the years is I'd buy something, right, when I was first starting out, when I was a young man. I'd buy something that I could afford, right? I'm like, oh man, I can barely. I mean, my first one was what, 82,000 paid for my first house. And I remember, it's funny because you find a way in life for whatever reason, at least I did, right? You find a way to strap yourself, right? You go, well, I got to get, you know what? I got to get myself a more reliable vehicle. I do. I do. I got this job. And if I get late or whatever, I'll get fired, you know? Well, what I used to do before I had well, I've not personally ever had a brand new vehicle. The companies had brand new vehicles. But what it is that I would leave early enough, especially when there was a snowstorm. I would leave enough time in there that I knew my car could get stuck in a snowbank or break down the side of the road. And I'd probably have to jog, but I could jog there and still make it in time. That's just how I thought of it. And then when I had older, older vehicles, I'd always have two, and I'd have one, that's paid off, and I'd have that thing sitting in mechanically good condition, right? I'd have it. I wouldn't keep it insured. It's already paid off, so it can just sit out in the willy weeds behind something or whatever. Because some townships and that are all funny, right? Most time I had fences around. That's another thing to look at, right? Like, it's sometimes you got to remember that, out of sight, out of mind. So you got, all these things. I wish somebody would have taught me going into things. You think because you buy a house, you can run a business out of it? Hell no, probably not. Neighbors might not like it, depending on the township and that. That's why sometimes I think when you're starting out, like I wish I would have done more leasing. In a sense, I got lucky because my first house actually was zoned commercial already. But just the things you learn over time. So, but I'd always have a backup vehicle. Like I said, it'd sit there. It's mechanically, it's ready to go. If you got to buy one of those little stabilizers, for the trickle chargers for the battery, or just unplug the battery, and that way you can hop in, it's ready to go. All I can tell you for in life anyways, a lot of it is preparation, right? Everything is preparation. A lot of people don't do preparation, right? Everybody wants to, kind of sit in their butts. Heck, I do too sometimes, and be lazy, but it's all about being ready, being reliable, Doo-doo. But it is expensive. Do 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 do. The house. Ba-da, ba-da. That's because of the Democrats. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Crazy times, man. Crazy. Eric says it's both parties. Yeah, I don't know if I'm kind of 50. I mean, I don't know. I'm 50-50. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I lean towards I like the Republicans typically, but I think there's a lot of dirty shirts in there. There's a lot of dirty shirts. Um, uh, Dave Evans guy says, Dave, I could tell you why they aren't having kids, but will end up in the dark rabbit hole. Yeah, yeah, it's, kids are expensive. Like I said, and you better have, when it comes to kids nowadays, I mean, I'm the luckiest man in the world for my wife. She's an amazing girl. And but as I've gotten older, you realize how precious that is and how fragile it is, and it can be taken away from anybody, right? I mean, death can come the next day. I mean, I just seen two people, one was 39 and I think one was 42. You just never know. But I look at it in the combination, she's the softness, I'm the hardness, and with kids, it makes it. That's why I try to tell some of the young lads I hang out with. I'm like, you watch where Willie goes. I was like, you have a little fun, but I was like, you watch because And even for me, I think it was even after I got married, it was still another like it was like 3 years before, because what they don't tell you is that when you move in with somebody, that's when you really learn somebody, right? It's all fun, and if you're getting a little slush money from here, mom and dad, or you can live under their roof. But dude, when you're pounded, when you lock and load that contract with let's say a rental or a house, dude, it's a different animal, and looking back, like I said, it took two incomes. It was me and my ex, and then when we broke up, uh, that's when I first started renting. You know what I mean? I rented out my house, was in the garage. The garage was making me money in a sense, right? I just needed a place to crash, and for a while, like I said, I was using a cup and a 5 gallon bucket to wash myself. I had a drain. I didn't, and then I got my hula hoop. Then I got me a little electric hot water tank thing, heater. Man, that was, oh, man, living the dream. When I got that finally, when you didn't have to sit there and take a cup and keep splashing it over your head, that was amazing. I remember how I heated up the water. I think I had a stove in there, so maybe I heated it up on the stove, with a kettle or something, and poured in, so I at least lukewarm water. Ah, do 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 do. Is it? Oh, we got FPV. What is this? Someone stole my check to Amar out of the mailbox and tried forging it for thousands more. Dang, dang. That's not cool. That's not cool at all, man. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I've always tried to watch. I've gotten lazier over the years, I ain't gonna lie. But I've tried to, that's like your mailbox. You got to make sure when the mailman comes, you normally get your mail. And then when you put mail out, you got to do it, a few hours, or do it the morning of, before the mail person would come. Because yeah, there's a lot of people that do weird stuff, man. And you can't catch it all. I mean, I mean, things still happen, but um I was telling the wife, trying it's something. I had a vendor or something, and I just said, "Why don't you just cut me a check?" And she was like, "Well, and I said, "No." I said, "I got to go out there." I said, "I rather just have the check." I said, "That way I can actually hand it to them." I said, "Because we know how the United States Postal Office works." I said, "That's about a joke." So it'll be gone or missed, or we've had numerous of checks we've sent out to certain parties, and they're like, "We've never received a check," and it's like, oh my gosh. Do, 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 do. Eric says there is actually as Acne says, Animal Company. Huh. Ta-da. What's Rich got? This is what is it? The government has FHA loans with low down payments. Then in the 90s, people with those loans were able to get home equity loans out. Ooh, when they could barely make their mortgage payments. Oh yeah. Yeah. I always thought it wasn't funny, but I remember the guy I used to work with in produce. I used to work at the the grocery store at night, trying to keep my head above water. And I remember the guy, he got a phone call, and we worked third shift or whatever. So we started at whatever 10, 11 till 6 or whatever in the morning, 7. And I just remember he answered that phone one time, and I just remember him taking his phone. And he's like, "Son of a," and he threw it down, and I'm just kind of like over there messing with, like, some produce, like throwing some apples up. I'm like, "What the hell is that dude's problem?" And I'm like, it's like one of those, like, do I ask or don't? Do I just let it go? And it's like, "What's up, dude?" Like, and I'm waiting for, like, my girlfriend, or this or that, blah blah. And he was upset because the government got his phone number, and he said, "This isn't the first time." He said, "I just got a new phone." I said, "Wow." So they were coming after him, but he told me he had 100,000 for an airplane. He was going to be one of those guys, a pilot, and he ended up finding out that it was. He said, "I would have been better off taking and buying a house." He said, "Pulling the equity out of the house," and he said, "I would have foreclosed on the house." He says, "I would have been better off." Um, he says, "Because at least I could bankrupt it. And he says, "Where I can't get rid of this," and obviously he wasn't going to go to be a pilot because he was in. He's obviously working produce with me, and he's not continuing his education or anything or working in that field. So that's why sometimes you got to be laser focused. Down payments. Let's see here. I don't think people realize how much they are taxed. Yes, I would agree. They tax money you make. They tax the money you spend. Yeah, I would. I would say that's probably a understatement. That people don't realize, and that's the problem. Is like people don't realize, like, once you purchase a house, and then you think about it, right? You got to do, you got to buy windows. You got to buy, even down to the washer and dryer, to the bleach, to the pump, to electricity, to, I mean, there's so many things that takes to run that. Where, let's use Eric. When you're already in a house, right? You're kind of working as a team, right? That's why I always talk about, like, for me, this is kind of how I do it. I always talk about it as like a ship, right? I talk about that in business. I talk about that with a household. I talk about, we're on a ship. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts, and we all have to play a part. We all have to make sure we flush the toilet. We all have to make sure we clean the toilets. We have to make sure stuff stays clean and organized and washed and laundry. And it's very easy. Um, to get behind. But the taxes, that's why when I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, right? When I seen it said taxes is the highest thing you'll ever pay, I thought, this is stupid. I'm going to throw this in the garbage right now. I thought, don't they understand? I just bought an $82,000 house, and taxes is the highest thing. Well, the problem is it's almost like termites, right? It's constantly chewing, and all of a sudden one day you're like, well, we got a problem. The house is starting to lean. Yeah, well, the termites have chewed on it. You didn't notice it right away, but that's how taxes are. It's they're chewing, 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 and then so everything you get yourself into, you buy yourself a boat, you buy yourself a vehicle, you buy a house, you buy a camper, it starts compounding, right? And then you have to keep working. And then, so like for me, for instance, I'd have a lot of problems where it was like, um, you buy these toys, right? You think, well, I really want a motorcycle, or I really want a wave runner, right? You start buying all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you realize that you go, I can't even enjoy this stuff. Why is that? Because I got to work to pay for all this stuff. Oh my gosh. I mean, I got so many jobs. I got to do this just, and maybe I'll get 2 hours on a weekend to go, enjoy it. But then when I get it, I got to bring it back. I got to clean it. I got to refuel it. I got to put oil back in it. It needs this, it needs that. Well, then good. And everything it needs too, now that you go out and purchase, new forks for it, or um, recoil, whatever, spark plugs. And guess what are you going to see every time you purchase something, right? For one, you got to pay, but then you look at the bottom, you're going to see tax, 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 tax. So yeah, taxes are definitely. And then the worst part, is like especially when you do property, you got property taxes, man. And what scares me the most, honestly, is that you got property tax, and now you got um, insurance. Insurance is getting crazy. So, and if anybody knows how to control it and say, you do not raise my insurance for another 10 years, well, sign me up. Otherwise, it's you just you gotta, it always reminds me of like your electric bill. I always think it's a joke, right? We're always trying to, always trying to save electric, right? Not use, but when the bill comes and it could be, they could throw on another $20 and you're really going to know, you know what I mean? You just pay it, right? You're like, well, I got to have it and you pay it. So, mm, let's see here. Realize I vote for whoever has my views and best for my property or propose. What is that? Prosperity. Yeah, it's kind of goes on to the economy, right? Whoever they always say the economy is what drives people. And they're voting. You guys don't have secure mail drop off boxes? I mean, I guess we do. We do have some around town, where you can go drop off. They got the flap that flops down in there, and they'll pick it up by whatever 2 or 3. I always remember my mom using that quite a bit because they always went to that route last. So like she forgot something to get in the mail or something, so we'd drive over. It was right around the corner, and so I guess we do. We could, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things. It's time, But yeah, if you got something that you don't want getting hacked or whacked, but like I said, with the post office, the problem is the post office. We got one. We've just had one that's just numerous of times, like the secretary, whoever calling is like, hey, we never, and it's like, how did you not? We sent you a second one, and it's just it gets lost. But for security though, that's not a bad idea. Drop them in the secure box, for if you got something that's hopefully it's not too far away. It's like we get, how it is. You get packages. I'm sure everybody else experience. You get packages. You get them from Amazon. Sometimes there's something valuable in there. They get whacked. It'll be, they'll cut it open and take out something in the box. You'll get like an empty box, which is always Amazon's normally pretty good about taking care of it at least. So you know what I mean. They're normally on top of it, way better than the United Postal Service. That's for sure. What's up, Sky? What's it say? It says, why does water have to be like warm? He says, can't it be Marge warm? Margaret warm? Luke. Well, I don't know for the water. It's gonna be warming up. He says, oh crap, messed up my joke. Oh. Rich guy says, always use gel pens to write checks. Interesting. My dad was a produce manager. Nice. I was kind of glad I got stuck in the produce. For one, we got paid a little bit more. I don't really know why, but the stock clerks, whatever, that do the shelves, they were supposed to put out like so many parts, like we weren't monitored. And I tell you what, boy, if you want to find yourself, a nice young lady, probably you go in there, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes I have to work a different shift, maybe, or I could pick it up, or if they just didn't have anybody, I'd come in for them. But nighttime. But during the day, wow, there'd be some. You'd see a trend. Normally, like these certain females would come in, and you knew they were picking up. You could tell they had a family, husband and kids and stuff, whatever. And you're like, man, dressed nice, in there getting good produce and stuff. Going to make a nice meal probably for the night. I was like, rock on. So better than the bar. Oh, but the produce, yeah, my manager was pretty cool. He knew I had a business, so he knew I'd cut out of there. Like I'd like do my zone or whatever, or even if I didn't do my zone, I did the best I could. I hustled pretty good. I remember him, I just blow out of there, so I never even seen him. He just have a list for me, and but he knew I did a good job, so he didn't bug me too much. It's always weird going to the shop. I'd be like sitting there, right? And the guys come in. Oh man, didn't get much sleep last night. I'm sitting there like all bug-eyed out. Like I've been up the whole night. I'm just banking on going home tonight so I can sleep. dun, 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 dun. Evan says, I've only had to deposit 2 checks so far. Oh man, I remember those days. That was like the days I remember when everything would come on the truck. I knew exactly. I was like, "Oh, there's Mrs. Jones, there's Mr. Roberts, there's yep, yep." I remember those. Now it's like the truck comes in and it's like, "Who the hell ordered this? Was that you? Was that you? Somebody confess. Who ordered all this crap?" You know, I don't know where it goes. I forget. I don't know if Evan, do you got like your own do you got your own business check so they can write it to your name of the business? Are you having them write them to your name still, or how do you and then do you have to pay to have that check? We have to pay nowadays. It used to be kind of free, or maybe it was very little. Now we got to pay it. I don't think it's a lot. It's probably somewhere 9, 10, $20 a month. But we wouldn't even entertain checking something else because the thing is where the place we've used, we've had zero issues with fraudulent charges and cards. I think now they got promoted, which has been there, just nobody's done it. But now it's you can actually deposit the checks right from the office. Pretty sweet. Dun, dun. Let's see. Um, I probably says what's that guy says I probably won't buy a boat. He says I'll try and be friends with other people who have boats. That's a smart thing to do. Hey, we got 5 likes now. Sweet. Um, we have a thing around here too where you can do like I think it's almost like it's only like $400 or something, 400 or $500 a month, and you can do boat. It's a boat share, and that's kind of the way I would look at it. You know what I mean? Or like I said, if you can, and be a good Samaritan or whatever, or if somebody offers for you to ride along or share or something like that, tell them say, hey, look, I'll throw you $50 or $100 for the day. For letting us run around and taking us this and that for gas and stuff like that. They like that kind of stuff, but they're very expensive. You know what I mean? I've had one. I remember I buffed it all out real nice, got it all working, had a little trans problem, whatever. I took the wife on it one time, and I'm like riding the boat, right? I'm like, "What do you think?" And she's just sitting there looking so pretty. She's like, "It's nice." She's like, "When are we gonna stop so I can sit in the sun?" And I'm like, "When are we gonna stop sitting in the sun?" I was like, "You can do that crap on the beach." I thought, don't need no damn boat for this. This ain't going up for sale. Like, you better get your hiney because the water's never warm enough, or it's this or it's that. I always like my wave runners are probably about the best. I used to like my wave runners. I used to like going out Lake Michigan, cruise out there and look at the lake shore just from a far distance. Sit there and float, jump in the water, life jacket on, just bob there. Just look back. You know how small you are in the world. You're just a speck of dust. Mm, Evans, guys, my first job. I was a cart boy, janitor. Oh yeah, yep. I think that's what I was. Trying to think of my first one. No, I can't say it. My first one was cutting grass. I was cutting grass for Winky. That was her name, Winky. And she had a lawnmower. Well, she had a Toro push mower, whatever. It was self-propelled, I think, too. And then she had a Craftsman. She had a Craftsman rider. And then I think I went from there. I went to produce. I went to another produce actually. That was for a little small company. Same thing. I had to kind of do. I had to clean the produce. I had to rotate the produce. I guess the produce just maybe that's what I told them. I went to Myers. I used to work in produce too. I don't know. I don't remember telling them that, but mm, produce always nice. To get a little snack too. A little snack here and there. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, what's the guy? Rich. He says the problem around here is they rob the postal workers and steal their master keys get into boxes. Ooh, that would not surprise me. I guess that just reassures me. That's why when I go to certain vendors, I just bring the check. If I got to go out there for certain things, like just bring a check so I can hand it right to them because you just never know. He says, that's why he says, I worked in a butcher shop after school. Lot of fine ladies. Absolutely, absolutely, man. I tell you, my perspective on things really changed when I was working, at least the second round in produce. You know what I mean? Because it was like, especially when I got those evening shifts, it was like, dude, I'm doing it all wrong. Because I don't know. I feel like as a young man, we're kind of programmed. I think it's kind of one of those things that we, think, oh, we got to go to the bar and that's where you're going to pick up this. Yeah, well, you can pick up a chick that you don't bring home to mama, but or you get the gift that keeps on giving sometimes. Ooh, what's it got? Sky says he said I'm working on a 700. Is that 700? That's a seven. Is that 7 million or 700? Home has a custom wood carriage house door, 19 feet 2.25 inches wide. Says 9 foot tall, low headroom, needs some hinges and opener replaced. Ooh, nice. Very nice. Dun. I was actually listening to the podcast. Actually, Evan sent it to me. Thank you, Evan. He was sending me one from the A1 guy there, Tommy. It's got some good points. There's no doubt about it. I was listening to it, and he was talking about something about like a pizza. Like nobody calls and says, the pizza only costs $2 to make. You know what I mean? And you're charging me whatever $16, $20. It's because the service. But he was explaining, which I would agree with. Why do we always get the heat, right? When we ask for payment or whatever, tell them a price. They act like it's just like it's almost like I think it kind of goes back to that service of like that service that doesn't benefit them in a sense. I mean, it does, but it doesn't it doesn't take it's like they don't have respect for it. I don't know how to explain it. I really like that auto body guy that told me he goes, Dave, he goes, my son's not going to take over. And he says, my son, he says it's changed. And he says, but think about it. He says, when I'm in the auto body, nobody's happy. He says, but they'll go spend 100,000, 300,000 on a kitchen remodel, and they're just ecstatic. You know what I mean? But when it comes to the auto body, they got in a car accident, they're not happy. They're not happy with insurance. They're not happy how much they got to pay. They're not happy when you tell them this is going to cost extra because you tore something apart and found there's extra. They're not happy when they pay you. Yeah, because now you get your car back, right? There's no benefit, right? The car came back, the car was like this, and I had an accident. Now the car comes back and it's the same. It's not better or going to do more tricks. So it's just kind of weird. Like in my one buddy that passed away, he used to always tell me that too. He always would say, he says, it's always funny. He says, that he always joked with me. He says the heating and cooling guy always gets paid. He says, but like for us, it's like we're almost like maybe we're like the trash service or something. I don't know. But I mean, if you got any 2 cents, add it. You know what I mean? I think it is funny where it's kind of like, you know, like for Sky, right? It goes to that kind of house, and I'm sure they're going to pay and everything, right? But it is funny where I used to have the mindset, right? When I used to go to really expensive houses, it was just always like, this is going to be a great customer. We're going to treat them so good. We can share it. We can charge a fair price. And I remember one that was on the lake, right? And we were charging $65 at the time. That was our normal service call. Sometimes we'd only charge 45, right? And I remember I was sitting there talking to my business partner. I said, man, I said, all we did was we made a few adjustments. I was like, do we charge the 45 or 65, or should we just, he's like, man, they're on the lake. I mean, look at the cars. Like, no, they should get a full service call. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, we do this often enough. It's like, yeah, I mean, that is what it is. That's what our service call is. That's what they've been told over the phone. I mean, so I remember it was like the lady come out, whatever, and said, it's just going to be 65. And I mean, the lady just acted disgusted. What? 60? It's because I live on the lake. And it's like, I mean, I would have swore like we didn't say it loud enough. We were outside or whatever. And I would have swore she had a mic on us. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I don't know why you feel. I was like, that's what you've been told on the phone. I was like, that's what the service call is. I just, well, I'll never use you guys again. Okay. Like you know what I mean? Just kind of like gridlocked. Like I was like, I don't know what to like. We took care of the problem and a service call. You could have YouTubed it. You could have Googled it. You could have whatever. I mean, we drove out here. It's not your fault. We got two guys, but it was just two of us available. We came out. She pays us, and then like 2 hours later, she's got to call us back because what we didn't quite fix it. We had to make another adjustment. But as we went back out there, we didn't charge her another 65. It was kind of like, this is why we charge you 65 because we are, banking that there is going to be another problem or something we have to address. And we did. And now we don't charge you again, because that was on us. And so now I'm glad we got paid 65 and not 45 because I needed that extra few dollars for the gas. But yeah, people, that's why, I've had some family members, I've had business and they're like, oh, this guy's East. And I'm like, hmm. I just read a post, some of the guys that does a septic cleaning, I think. He was talking about how it's funny how like the middle class will come out and bring you water, they'll help you dig. He says, but sometimes you get the higher ends and they won't even look at you. You know what I mean? They won't give you a tip. So it's weird sometimes. Not all, but I do hear the stories. I think my brother-in-law just went through one that he was telling me about how the customer was like, hey man, I got other properties I'm gonna have to get done pretty soon. So make sure you give me a good price. And then and it's like, don't fall for that. You know what I mean? Do your fair price or whatever you got to do. But if you make a sweet deal, the next one, he's going to still try to get you, or go, well, hey, why'd you do mine for this much? Now you want, because dude, it's like somebody told me once, the reason they got there was by hanging on to their money. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, could be true. Do. Oh, Evan says, right now, if I have to take checks or transfer, I just go to my personal checking. They just go to my personal. Go to your personal. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really nothing like super wrong. I know Rusty would say differently, our accountant. But that's fine because like I said, normally when you're gonna get it switched over, they're gonna need the proof, they're gonna want EIN. I can't remember if you need DBA or if the DBA is pretty much EIN. You know what I mean? But they're gonna want certain things and they might start charging you, you know. Like I said, it's amazing. The longer I've done business, I just start realizing that everybody wants to get in your pockets, right? Oh, you're running a business now. And then it's like, what's weird is it's like a vortex, right? So it's like you start doing this and now you got to start running faster on the treadmill. Um, I should say the wheel, the cart, the rat race, because, um, well, now I got to pay, dang man, now every month I got to pay $9. Yeah, it's $9. You know what I mean? And it's like you look, you're like, it's only $9, right? Right. Oh yeah, okay. But when you're sitting somewhere, right, or on after hours or whatever, what are you making that's making money? I mean, everything's drawing from you, right? The electricity's drawing, your subscription's drawing, your vehicle, your house. I mean, that's all drawing that they're gonna get paid, but you got to go out and chase it. That active, got to be active. Rich has got the boat is nice because there's no no tan lines. Right. Right. There you go. That's true. That's true. Let's see. Evans. He says, I charge 50 even if I have to just go and adjust a safety sensor. Yes. So like like what I would do, what's been game changer for us is I would tell them on the phone, say, look, I charge you a service call. The service call is going to be $50 regardless, right? That doesn't include parts or anything, tell them, say I charge $50, but I'm going to come out there. I'm going to do whatever you want to tell them, 10 point, a 30 point inspection, or just say, I'm going to do a preventative maintenance while I'm there. Right. And that kind of stuff all makes them feel warm and fuzzy. Right. I think that's why, like, you think about it, like when you go to an oil change, they just don't drop the oil, put a filter on, spin it on, and they go, there you go, sir. It's going to be 35. Well, what am I thinking? 65 or 120 or $200, sir. And you're like, all you did was drop the oil. You dropped the oil, put new oil in and a filter. I mean, it's that much. But when they go around and check your tires and they bring that dipstick, which I guess there's a gimmick to that. I don't know if some of you guys know that, but that dipstick, I knew it because my business partner used to work at one. He said that's why they tip it. If they tip the dipstick, they're actually making it run closer to the line. They'll tip it, or they use their thumb when they bring it to you. And if it's a little bit high, they'll swipe it, and they'll get it down to the line. If they overfilled it, life secrets right here. But they check the air, they check they of course they want to sell you an air filter, right? That's upcharge for them. They check your coolant, they check your transmission, right? You feel like your car is brand new again, right? Everything's been checked. We're good. We're good for the road. Well, you do the same thing. You go out there because if you just, I've had it too many times, and they're like, that was it. I'm like, mm-hmm. Yep, that's it. Yeah, you see how you're holding that smartphone? Yeah, must be the dummy operating it. But yeah, you could have Googled it. A lot of YouTube videos, a lot. You could have YouTubed it. $50. But if you go through and even if you get one that watches, you pull the cover off and blow some snowflakes out of there, throw a little grease on the gear, spray the chain and tighten up the chain a little bit. Be careful because obviously you'll blow the chain off the sprocket if it's worn out. Spray the hinges, spend some time there. They feel just so much better to give you that $50. It's like they don't even question it. Charge. Richest guy says the richer the person, the cheaper they are. Could be very true. I can't say I feel definitive on that answer, but it does seem like I can't remember. I can't even think off the top of my head anybody I've worked for that was a rich person. I've worked for a lot of them that were like that I feel like bettered my life or like wanted me to succeed or like they wanted to they were like, here you go, here's $20 or here's $50 or here's $100. Thanks for the great service. Can't say I feel that way. Can't say that way. Hmm. The rich ones, even if they paid me my fair price or whatever I wanted, I just remember them being like for instance, for one on the lake, right? You get one on the lake and the problem is then we have sand intrusion, right? So now it's like the weather seal is a problem. They want fancier doors, but the doors don't function as good, right? The doors don't seal up as good. They don't insulate as good, maybe because they want aluminum or full view. And there's no insulation in there. Um, yeah, so it's fun. Exactly, Rich. The door install I got coming up. I'm just replacing the one door because a lady backed into with her Porsche. Ooh. She does not want to replace the second one. They might. Maybe they'll change their mind once they see it and they go, it just doesn't keep up with the Jones as good as I would like it to. Is that the septic guy that always smells like money? That's right. Poop smoothie, right? Right? Poop smoothie. Yeah. I don't know exactly his name. I come across certain ones and I don't know for sure if they're always it sounds like his voice on some, but I thought he had a little post that said something about that where it's like it's funny how middle class will come out and they'll give you a tip or they'll come out and help you or ask you if you want a bottle of water, but sometimes the rich, you know, I don't think it's all of them. I just like I said, I can't even think on the, I still remember when I was busting my butt one day on a hot summer day. We were trying to get this door knocked out up north. And for whatever reason, where the shop is, it's kind of like not always, but it's like the farther we go south, the ruder the people are. The farther you go north, the nicer the people are. And I just remember I was up there, I was dying, man. It was my first time. I finally got hooked onto tea, right? Because I when I grew up as a kid, my uh, babysitter, they used to do sun tea, and I hate sun tea. I just hated it, and they always try to make me drink it or whatever. I just hate it. It was unsweetened too. And I remember I'm at this job, and at this time, I'm not packing a lunch or anything. I'm pretty wet still behind the ears, doing stuff, just trying to survive. And we get up there, we're busting our butt, and the guy's like, "Oh, I mean, super nice old dude, like out in suspenders and stuff." And he's like, "You guys need any tools? Just help yourself to my toolbox over there." And it's like, okay, cool, no, really appreciate that. And he came out a little bit later, whatever, 20, 30 minutes later or something. And he's like, guys want something to drink? I mean, I'm just dying, man. I'm like, I'll take anything. Like, I'll take toilet water right now. And I'm like, what do you got? And he's like, well, I got some tea. I got either unsweetened or sweetened. And I'm like, or no, it's just unsweetened. And I said, I'll take some tea. You know what I mean? I was like I told you, I said I'd drink toilet water right now. And he brings that out and I drank it and it actually tasted pretty damn good. I was like, this tea's pretty good. Like I was like, hell, I'd like to try some with some sweetener in it. So I started getting hooked on the ones at the gas station. So that's what made me drink tea again. Otherwise, if it said tea, nope, walk away. I don't want it. If it's sweetened, unsweetened, nothing to do with it. Um, but since that old boy came out, super nice guy. Evans guy says, I'll look into a business bank account if the builder wants me to have one. Yeah, I'm assuming he's gonna want some stuff eventually, as my guess, right? Because we're always trying to like when you're like that, we're trying to get it off our books, and then they have to like almost if sometimes not all of them, but you have to basically almost prove that the other person is, their own subcontractor, so anything that looks fishy that can go back on them. That's like for us, like if we would to sub somebody out, like we're supposed to, I'm not the expert. The secretary wife and the accountant, they're the better ones at this, but it's, they got their own truck, they got proof of insurance on that truck or vehicle, they got, liability insurance, the business name can be good, right? Because if it's a personal, that looks suspicious, like you're just, but like I said, I wouldn't jump into it unless, like you said, the builder or something. And that's kind of how I always learned, right? Ooh, we got 7 likes too. I always learned by it's just like you do it, but the problem is that sometimes you have to weigh it out, right? Because you know, like for cousin Evan, right? Now he's got an expense, right? And it's not that much, right? But now you got liability, right? When I got liability, now you got to get the bank account. And they seem all very minute, right? These numbers seem all like, but that stuff starts adding up, and then we need more insurance, we need proof of this, we need to have you bonded, and you can start kind of going like, whoa, like time out, time out. And the problem is with a lot of contractors, including myself, um, you're not paying attention to the numbers. You think you're charging enough, but you're really not charging enough. And then are you calculating? Like, are you every time you do a job, putting on a piece of paper, like, yeah, it took you 5 minutes to order the springs. It took you 10 minutes to order online. You know, you got to pay this, you got to pay this, and then look at the number. Most time you don't because you're out chasing the next job or doing something in life. But that's what you almost should be doing, looking at every job and going, okay, I went to the customer's house. I clocked in at this time, like soon as you leave. And I would even document when you're on the phone with them, right? If you're going back and forth, I'd be sitting there looking at my watch, saying, all right, I just spent 15 minutes on the phone with a customer. Document all that, because if you start looking at it and then you might tell yourself, go, okay, I want to make $10, $20, $50, $100 an hour. And then when you took this job and you said, okay, I told them it was this much. And then you break it down and go, holy crap, I'm making 12 bucks. You know what I mean? I made 12 bucks an hour on this job. I gotta charge more. I can't be doing this. I was just messaging a guy, and what was he saying? I think 125 for a door. I think it's a 16x7. And I was like, man, that seems cheap, but I understand where he's at. the competition, depending if there's trunk slammers, might eat them up too. You know what I mean? But I just thought, wow. I said to take out a door and probably install. And then what are you going to do with them? I haven't got that far, but um, just one's business. I have 2 free oil changes with the Trailblazer. I imagine changing oil in it will be much easier than my Kia was. Well, another thing too is I watch a lot of it. I'm sure Rich would even agree on it. Make sure you watch the oil change intervals because they might tell you. So like I've reverted back to pretty much everything. I just do 3,000. I do 3,000 miles. I might go up to 5 if it gets missed, but I won't go past 5. I was just watching a guy, I think with a brand new vehicle. I think he was mentioning, which I wouldn't discount it. Brand new vehicle, get up to 1,000 miles, get the oil change done. That helps get all the contaminants and the metal shavings or anything when that thing was built. I'd probably cut open the oil filter, just taking glance in there. I bought myself a nice spinner one. You spin on there to cut the top off. Don't believe what the manufacturers are telling you. Their intervals are way too long. And I don't know if you're planning, the thing is it's cheap insurance, right? And you never know. So like the Wifetron, hers was a lease. What do we care? It's a lease. Well, we ended up buying it, and so you never know what down the road is going to bring. And but even when she would get the same thing. She had free service, free oil change. And I think they were doing every 10,000 miles. And even whatever it was, 2017, before I even did as much research as I have now, I said, no way. I said, we're not going 10,000 miles on oil change. I said, you take it in every 5. I said, I just couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't do it, even though I, had no intention. It was just going to be a lease. We're just going to lease another vehicle. It's not, who cares? It's not ours, and she got free ones. And I told myself, hell no. I said, you take it in. I said, I don't care. And so she could do it like every other month or not every month, but whatever it was, they'd give her certain ones, but the other ones she had to pay for it. And I said, I don't care. I said, just pay for it. I said, because I said, you ain't going 10,000 miles on a freaking oil change. I said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The condition of your oil will tell you. And the big thing about oil too is that people, it soaks in dirt and stuff and debris, and every car burns a little bit of oil, right? And stuff gets blow by and stuff. So you got to get those contaminants out of there. It's like, think about bath water. I mean, you don't, take a bath and then the next day you jump back in, take a bath, take a bath and take a bath, and then expect yourself to be clean. It's got so much contaminants in it. Um, you know, but you just never know long term, you know. Bang, bang, bang. Where are we at? Where are we at? Um, Then sometimes oil changes, like at least with one of the service vans. I remember, we have to go a little ways across town, not horrible, but you have to go through town. And I always remember the guys would get there to do the oil change. And it was like, the guys would wait, like they had a line in that place, that dealership. And it was like, oh my gosh, they'd spend whatever, 15, 20, 30 minutes just in the line, maybe longer. It might have been 2 hours. I can't remember. I just remember the place that have cars. They have 4 bays, and cars are just out on the road, on the sidewalk, and everything you can think of. And it was like, dude, that's ridiculous. Like, just take that down to the oil change place we do business with, just take it right down the road. I said, don't take it to the damn dealership. I know it's free, but it's like, when you're sitting there thinking about what you pay at a technician or your own time, or, you're like, this is not adding up. Plus you're going farther away, more liability. Changes. Let's see. Then again, the same customer, I tried offering a new 1/2 horsepower belt drive, and they said they think they need a 3/4 unit. That's fine. Go 3/4 then. You know what I mean? Just because it says a different number, it's probably about the same motor. Whatever. Fine, that's fine. We can go 3/4. Absolutely, customer. You are probably right. We should do a 3/4. You know what? That's going to be another 75, $150. Well, exactly. You don't need it, but that's fine. That's fine. Bigger motor, right? 305, 350 Chevy. Yeah, man. It's going to be another couple $100. 'Cause, 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 ' The customer's always right. Rich has got always do PM on your service calls. It's an added value, and customer will believe you're there for their best interest. Yeah, yep. And and honestly, looking back, I never did it. I never did it. I was like, I went in there, I took care of the problem, and it was like I boot, scoot, and boogie, man. I was like, I gotta get, I gotta get on to the next. And looking back, and even to this day, I would say it's a very it's a great service, right? Because nowadays with cameras or they're out there watching you, you're just getting accustomed to doing it, and you might catch something. You know what I mean? You might go, "Whoa, this cable is not looking so good," and especially when you're first starting out and all that kind of stuff, right? Because you're hungry, you need the work, you need the money, and we got to a point where we were just so busy. It was like I don't have time. I got three more service calls. I was late on the next one. I gotta go. And but you go through, and it's a really good service, right? Because it's just like I look at it like we're all programmed to do oil changes on our cars, but we're not programmed to do annual, yearly maintenance on our own garage doors, right? Which we should, right? I mean, oil helps those things so much, just in the bearings, a coating, uh, to see things. Maybe all of a sudden you touch something, you go, "Whoa, track bracket's loose or the back hang's loose." I'm glad I caught this before you had a problem. I mean, there's so many chances too, and you should upsell. You know, what I mean, if you can, you look at it, they got those scabby looking drops for their opener. Their opener when it runs is doing this. Hey, I can get you a whatever, a backhand kit, $75. Oh, would you? I'm so sick of that. I didn't know that was a problem. It's been like that for years. It really shouldn't be doing that. You can pick and choose. Let's see here. Always Rich, were you talking about the septic? Is it gender? Uh, Ganger guy? Says no, he's from Texas. Arizona tea. I like me some Arizona tea on hot days. I think they raised the price. One guy said he still gets it from one place because they're just too lazy. I think it's like $1. So it used to be 99 cents. Now it went to like $1 something maybe. So not the well and septic guy that was it with multiple wives? Who's that? Dang, what a player. Uh Says Evans guy says normally we change our oil every 6 months. Yeah, I don't know what you know, I don't know what the 6 months, like I said, we always go by mileage, but I just know that a lot of the manuals and stuff, whatever they tell you from the manufacturer, it's really sad because we used to you know, I always grew up when I was a younger lad. I grew up on the manual. The manuals, whatever the manual recommends, that's what you should do for service intervals and stuff like that. And now it's like we've gotten so far away that you can't even believe what's in the manual. I mean, I think they normally probably still they still do good on like timing belts and stuff like that. But the oil changes, it's like I've never seen it as a brochure, but they must do it where they sell you on like, this vehicle will only cost you, $1,200 a year to annually service, where they're trying to sell people on that or something. Or obviously too, they want to sell you more cars, and now with all the tight tolerances and stuff in vehicles, and they got low tension piston rings, and those things can get gummed up. And then if your piston rings obviously get gummed up, you're going to start burning more oil. So you got to get that crap out of there, that carbon buildup stuff and the gooiness. So it's cheap insurance. Mm. So not well, the septic. Normally we change. It says, would I go one? It says, would I go 1 and 1 quarter of their horsepower if they want? If you want, he says, yeah, hey, like I said, maybe you just do it and it's for, whatever. It's kind of one of those things. 3 to 5 oil. What is it? 3 to 5 says oil is cheap. Yeah, oil is cheap. That's for sure when it comes to that, especially if you can do it yourself, you might save a few bucks and you can buy like Rich showed me. I didn't realize that you can buy 5 gallon pails basically, or their boxes from AutoZone. I didn't even know that existed. Otherwise, I've bought some of it too, just from the Tractor Supply and some older vehicles that I have. Depending on what it is, I've always been pretty satisfied with like the Valvoline. And I'm not a big guy with the whole synthetics. That's just my opinion. I've done synthetics in older vehicles, and unfortunately, they seem to puke them out or leak faster. And then also, I'm not going to spend that much money to drain it out at 3,000 miles. I'm more about I'd rather have more consistent 3,000 oil change, get that contaminants out of it, than worrying that go, oh, but I got this full synthetic, I can run it at 10,000 miles. That's just me. You know what I mean? You do whatever you got to do. That's for sure. And um, some people don't realize, like on some of the older vehicles, that they don't have as much zinc in the oil either. That zinc's been taken out, on flat tapping motors and stuff like that, older. So that's another thing too. You might want to do a zinc additive to certain models. They got rid of the zinc in the oil because it clog up because like I said, every car burns a little bit of oil. Brand new, old, the Cadillac converters they'll plug up. So they removed some of the zinc out of that oils nowadays. So, but a lot of stuff has the rollers, but still kind of a bummer. So it's just something they got to think about in those older vehicles if you got to keep them going and whatnot. Anywho, all right, guys, I think I'm going to roll out of here. I've caught up on the comments. I really appreciate you guys being here. Let me know if anything happens tonight. Put the Batman symbol out there. If Papa Tony jumps on or something, or Cousin Evan, you got to be getting up there. Hopefully, Cousin Evan's getting close, man. See him start harassing him so I can retire finally. So, but all right, you guys keep your fingers. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. If you got anything, shoot me an email, text me, all that good stuff. I always appreciate all of it. See you on the next one.